Thank you so much for being on the podcast today, Bobbi. I am so honored to have you. Most people probably don't even know that we have a long history. And I have to be honest, now that I'm in this stage of my career, which is not, it's just a little bit more advanced than I was when I first met you, I realize all the things that I didn't know back then and how when people try to work with me, what I want and what I expect from them and all the mistakes that I made as, a newbie, I should have just been a sponge to learn everything. And I think like, wow, I learned so much from working with you and learning from you. And I wanted to start out with just saying thank you for being such an amazing mentor, for just being a great champion for women in general.
Oh, well, thank you. First of all, it's insane that I had to do your podcast to be able to even connect with you. It's like, what are you doing? Let's get in touch. Yeah, I'd love to call you. And, we just get busy and scattered. And you have 1.3 million followers on Instagram. I'm like, yo, dude, you have so figured it out. It's, I remember at first when you're like, I don't know what to do. What should I do? And I kept saying,
Yes.
get a kid, get someone.
Yes.
And now you're using your own kid.
Yes, I'm using my own kid, which, you know how it is. Well, you have kids that are actually very, very committed to your business. My kids are still young and they have school and they have attitudes and they have things that they want to do with their time. So it's not always super easy with my kids, but I'm trying. But I do have a team. And I think I learned from you very early on that you have to kind of build a team around you. And I would love to have some of your thoughts around that. So before, we get too deep into it, I want you to share a little bit about who you are. If someone is like, has no idea, which is rare because almost everyone knows who you are. But if someone had no idea who you are, how do you describe yourself at this juncture in your life? And then we'll do the official bio.
Well, I usually say things like, hi, I'm Bobbi Brown. When someone says, what do you do? I say, well, I'm a makeup artist. And you're a makeup artist? Yeah, I'm a makeup artist. I'm a makeup artist. I'm a beauty expert. I'm a founder of 2 brands. I'm an author. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a sister. It goes on and on and on.
What aren't you is the question.
What aren't I? I'm not well read.
No, you are actually. You're very well read. So the official bio, and I can't do the whole thing justice, it's like a full page long, is that, you are more than the beauty industry, a world-renowned makeup artist, a best-selling author, a sought-after speaker, a serial entrepreneur. As a professional makeup artist, Bobbi created 10 simple lipsticks that launched into Bobbi Brown Cosmetics. And then Bobbi Brown Cosmetics was acquired by the Estée Lauder company in 1995, and she served as a chief creative officer for over 20 years, building a globally recognized billion-dollar brand. In October 2016, Brown left her namesake brand. This is where I remember I met you, and then to return to her roots as an entrepreneur. Then 5 months later, in April 2017, she unveiled Beauty Evolution LLC, a holding company she created to launch her next round of businesses and creative endeavors. That includes the George, the boutique hotel in Montclair, New Jersey, which is beautiful. It's modern, it's historic. It opened in 2017. Then you have your 18 Label Studios. It's a multi-channel media platform at Just Bobbi Brown. You have grown on TikTok. And then you made your return to the beauty industry with Jones Road, a collection of edited and indispensable clean beauty products for all ages, skin types, and skin tones. I'll skip to the fact that you are appointed by President Obama to serve as an advisory committee for trade policy and negotiation, and you've been inducted into the New Jersey Hall of Fame. You hold honorary doctorates from Montclair State University, Fashion Institute of Technology, Monmouth University, and Emerson College. I'm so glad I read that because I know you in so many ways, but this is just shows everybody what an amazing career you've had so far. And you're kind of like just getting started, right?
Well, it's so funny now that I'm listening to that bio, I realize how unimportant Jones Road sounds, and I'm gonna have to redo it again in a smaller way to kind of like bring Jones Road to the top. So, I'm always thinking of how I could do things better, but I also want to tell everyone who's listening how I met you.
Yeah. Tell that story. I love this story.
The story is so Bobby. I was in Italy on a small little boat that we were staying in. And I remember this trip because we couldn't get a hotel last minute. So we ended up renting a boat. We brought a bunch of our kids, and I started to have some major stomach issues, as I always do. And I was, went into the local pharmacy and asked, in my broken Italian, which I know nothing except pizza, whatever. And they suggested all these things. And I took a picture of all my remedies and I posted it on Instagram. And then Amy gets on and she goes, "Oh, hi, I can help you with this."
You wrote help.
Help.
And at that time, I had just done a gut series with Mind Body Green. And I had just my friends followed me. Like my mom didn't even follow me. She wasn't even on Instagram. It was like a couple of my friends, and it was Bobbi Brown. When I saw that post, I was like, oh my God, I could help you with this. So I reached out.
And we became friends ever since.
And that was like probably right before, was it 2016 or 2017? Right
2006.
before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Oh, no,
then
2017. No, this was after I left the company.
you were
Yeah.
still part of the company when I first met you.
Really? Okay.
Because I remember that you had your assistant there set up some calls for us.
No, that was Tara. And
No, it was before Tara. Before Tara, you had someone. And you were like, well, I'm leaving, but I think it was right when you were leaving. But yes, and then you had Tara.
Right. Okay.
Which I, of course, know. And then, we went to Expo West, which I think that was the most memorable experience, because I literally felt the sickest I've ever felt after that day of trying all these foods. For people who don't know, Expo West is the largest, I think, trade show in the world with all the natural food products and supplement products. So we went around, Bobbi and I, Tara, and there's somebody else.
Susan, who was the founder of One Kings Lane, who it now has her own big platform.
Yeah, so we went and we tried everything. We tried so many things, and they're all healthy products. And at the end of the day, I don't think any of us felt very well. We were like super sick.
Awful. And by the way, I've realized that most of those things that I was eating back then that look like health food, they're just processed food.
It's just processed food. I'm the same way. I came full circle, like those protein bars and the snacks and the crackers, and they taste so good. But I realized, like, when you go to Europe or you go travel and you don't have your snacks with you, you actually feel better because you're just eating whole meals.
Real food, yeah. I mean, I've kind of relaxed on some of my eating in my older age, and it has helped me so much in my gut. Because I think eating all those things, I was probably starving myself from real food and filling it up with all these either nuts or whatever. And just, it was hard to digest.
Yeah. And I think, we were talking about the gut brain connection and how when you're really stressed, both through foods and through your life, it can make it really irritable in your gut. And that's one of the signs that, you're having some stress issues in your life, whether it's through food or exercise or through life stress in general.
It did. I realized I was the person that would look at food and say, don't eat that. That's not good for you. Don't eat that. Don't eat that. And then all of a sudden you eat it and you're like, well, that made me feel bad. Yeah, because I felt bad eating it. That's why.
Why has your philosophy changed, and what's changed?
Well, it wasn't working. That's why it changed, where I'm like, this doesn't work. Like, I'm not someone, that does cleanses, and on and off cleanses. And I try things, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I mean, honestly, I can't be a faster either. I try not to eat after a certain amount, and depending what time we go out. And then I'm sorry, I wake up in the morning, I have a green juice or a green powder. I still do AG1. And then I've cut down my coffee. I used to do 2 shots of espresso. I do 1 now. And it's so much better, because 2 made me a little jittery and I didn't realize it. So I tried 1 and I'm like, okay, it works for me. And then I'm hungry, right? And then I'm like, I need food.
I think intermittent fasting to me has changed over the years too. I believe in circadian style. Basically, if I cannot eat 2 to 3 hours before bed, I feel my best. And that's really what fasting means to me. That's literally it. Just we're not eating 24/7 like the typical American person, and give
What time
your
do you go to
body.
bed? What time do you go to bed?
So I go to bed really early.
So do I.
I go to bed at 9 and I
Okay.
start the process at 8. So I'm not going to eat at least, like if I eat at 6, I feel the best. 5 or 6, I feel the best on a weekday. Obviously, this is all for weekdays. And then if I can go to bed by 9 or 9:30, I feel really refreshed and I can wake up in the morning and I feel good and I don't need to really over fast at that point. It's like, you're already just eating at 6. So even if you did 6 to 6, that's 12 hours already. So 6 to 7 or 6 to 8, that's like a 14-hour fast. And that's all really, I think, works for me. When I'm stressed, I'll even do a shorter stint of maybe 12 hours, but I like to do 12 to 14 hours.
I go up around 9:30. So I'm usually asleep by 10:30. And I don't eat as early as you do because it's just me and my husband in the house now. There's not kids. So, we eat around 7. But if we go over to my daughter-in-law's and see our granddaughter, then we eat earlier. And then all of a sudden it's 8 o'clock and he looks at me like, now what are we going to do? I don't know. And he always makes a joke. Let's go to Applegate's, which is the ice cream place. And we go, haha, which we used to do when the kids were little. We don't do that anymore.
Aw, I love that though. And it's so great that you have your granddaughter like so close by that you can visit like that. People always ask me like, what was my secret? Like, how was I able to be a full-time doctor and do any of this stuff? One secret was, well, I'm not a full-time doctor anymore, which I'll talk to you about. And then second secret is my parents. Like I could not have done it without the grandparents being such an integral part of taking care of my kids, especially when they're little. Like I didn't even worry about them when I was doing stuff because I knew that they were excited to be with the grandkids and the kids were so excited to be with their grandparents. And it was such a fun experience for them that I had no mom guilt when they were together. But as soon as my parents weren't there or the kids would call me or as they got older and say like, when are you coming home? I had intense mom guilt.
It is kind of crazy. I mean, I remember my first kid one day, he's like, where are you going? And I said, I'm going to work. Why? I said, I have to make money. Why? So I could buy you toys. And I remember he looked up at me and he said, I don't want toys. I want you. Oh my God. My heart was like, but I still said goodbye and I left.
Okay, I have a question for you because everybody who's watching this or listening to this is going to want to know like makeup tips and stuff like that. So we'll definitely get to those. But tell us what's working for Jones Road. Like I love to hear when entrepreneurs talk about like what's working.
Well, it's one day there'll be a Harvard Business School study because all the things that didn't work in the old company, I kind of would have done it differently if I was in charge. And so at Jones Road, we kind of do things a little bit differently. And what is working, which is so strange, is that Cody, who is my son, is started out as the CMO. Now he's the head of growth and he's basically running the company. Like, there's two people that kind of it's split and they take care of everything. They're not COOs, they're not CEOs, they're just these two people that know what they're doing. That's working. My head of brand is in the first person I've ever hired that understands what the brand should be, and it's my daughter-in-law. And this
Love
is
that.
it's so weird, but it's working. Our digital ads are working, our products are working. So I'm not gonna lie, it's a pretty amazing, thing to be part of.
I'm so happy to hear that. So what is Cody doing, your son, that has really accelerated your growth? It sounds like whatever he's doing is working.
Yeah. Our growth has been really healthy, and it's kind of crazy when I look and see what's actually happening. But he does so many things. First of all, he's amazing at building a team. He makes sure that he has the right people doing data, doing growth, doing, whatever. He is so opinionated. So when we are ideating what we're doing and talk about like, what it should be called, he's like, no, that's not going to work. And, him and his wife have never worked in beauty before. So, Pyle was a doctor of physical therapy and Cody was a strength and conditioning coach who did this major turnaround of marketing, and they took this incredible course, and I honestly cannot imagine anyone better doing this job. So
That's
it's amazing to
amazing.
watch. Yeah.
How often do you guys sit down and kind of ideate like that?
Well, we have regular Monday, on the calendar, 30 minutes touch base. I call Cody almost every morning, like I know when he's on his walk, I know when he's, what he's doing, and if there's something on my mind or something to discuss, or just it's, how you doing kind of thing. So I talk to him all the time. And then once a week, I have product development meetings where I finally said to my team, I'm like, can we please have Pyle sit in every meeting? I want my head of brand to know what we're talking about. And, she does have an opinion, and it's better for to hear everything. And then I just brought in my creative director. I said, well, bring in Erin, because she's got to understand and know what we're talking about when she makes decisions. Cody can't be bothered to be in that meeting. He's got more important things to do.
He's got stuff to do. How is it working with your son and a daughter-in-law? It seems like it's been working really, really well, but I can imagine there's challenges too.
Right. Well, I mean, it's working really, really well, but there's definitely challenges and different kind of challenges. First of all, when we're together, all we want to do is talk about business. So if there's someone else besides the three of us together, we might do it for a second, but we try to be respectful. My husband is also, he's the chairman of the board, so he's involved in everything. But my other two kids are not, they have ownership, but they're not involved in the day-to-day. So I don't want to bother them, number one. So we try, if they were here, they'd roll their eyes and say, yeah, you guys can't help yourself. So that's one challenge. And honestly, the beginning of us working together, I'm so used to being the final word on everything and not having to listen to people's other opinions. You can't do that when you're working with your family. You can't just say, no, this is the way I want it. And you have to learn how to listen. Both they had to learn to listen to me, and I had to learn how to listen to them. And I have to be really careful, because I am the person, if you show me something, I'll tell you immediately, oh, that I hate that. I don't like it. And if they've spent their time doing it, they're not going to be happy hearing this. So I need to have a different way to talk to them.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, my dream is to have Jaden or Lara, somehow join in the wellness practice at some point. So I think you're living the dream. So congratulations on that. Out of the products, which one is like killing it? Which one's working the best?
Well, there's a few top sellers. I mean,
Okay.
Miracle Balm,
I love that one.
is by far like ridiculously, popular. So the Miracle Balm, What the Foundation is probably a close second. Our mascara is probably a close third. And then, I always look at, the top numbers. Like we have a pencil sharpener that's in our top 10, like a pencil sharpener. We sell more, and this is, I'm talking about how many things leave the warehouse and, the numbers, and our eye pencils are very popular. Our lip pencils are getting up there. And, we have
I
skincare.
think is it the brow pencil? Do you have a really popular
Yeah,
brow
we
pencil too?
do.
I think I use that all the time. I just didn't even, so my favorites, and I'm not just saying this
Yeah.
because I love what you do, but the What the Foundation to me is such a great product because, and you can tell us why it's a great product, but to me, it's the one that gives me a little bit of coverage, but it's not like a mask like a lot of
Right.
other foundations are. And I think that's what you were trying to do. It's also like dewy and it feels like real skin.
Well, it's amazing for people that live in Arizona. It's
Mhm,
amazing for people that have dry skin.
mhm.
And it's also amazing because I don't need a moisturizer with it. So I just put it on directly on my face and I'm done. And what it does for me and for everyone is evens out my complexion and makes me look like I'm not wearing makeup, but it just looks so much better. So that's why we called it. I can't believe I named it this, but it's called WTF, What the Foundation. Like you'd never be able to name something like that in another, in a
Yeah.
company with layers. And it's just kind of taken off. People love it. And if you love traditional foundation with full coverage, you're not going to like it.
Yeah.
But I don't like traditional foundation with full coverage.
It's funny that you said that because you could call it whatever you want when you're an entrepreneur. But I
Right.
was on a partnership kind of, I do this thing called KOL, key opinion leaders for certain brands. And they were having me, they're like, speak from your own experience. And I said, oh, what I tell patients is to walk because it decreases your risk of death. It's great for your mood. And they said, okay, you can't say patients, you can't say death, you can't say all this stuff. And I was like, wait, what? And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, because legal and, this, it's big, we have to watch out for the certain words. And I thought to myself, how do you ever say anything if you're so afraid? And I get it. Like we have to be careful about how we say things, especially large companies have to be careful. But I thought to myself, like, how do I say this without actually saying the words patients, death, reduces your risk of, dying? And it just reminded me, like, what you're saying is like, there's so many rules and regulations.
I mean, I guess you could say, people will feel better and
Yeah. So I said something more general. But what I wanted to say was that it reduces your risk of death. Anyway, so I say that all the time on my social media or my books, but I guess it depends on the regulations around that. But I thought it was funny because just like you said, WTF would not work in a lot of big companies.
right.
You look so great. And I know you get this all the time. What is it that what are your top secrets for your amazing, as you seem to stay the same age?
Well, I am 67, and it's shocking to me that I'm closer to 70 than I am to 65. Actually kind of not. I guess I'm right in the middle. But I've noticed a big difference in how I look because I think a lot of it is I'm not as stressed, going to a corporate office, being aggravated. So that has been good. I've also discovered a couple things that have made a big difference. I'm not a weightlifter, but I'm a giant weight trainer. So I walk like probably 3 days a week for, at least an hour and a half. And the other days I do weights. So, and that has made a
And then you
really,
dance.
and then I dance. I haven't been able to do it this summer because my dance guy's not near me, but that I do for enjoyment. And then I don't wear a ton of makeup. I wear, just enough. And I've been doing these amazing treatments. I'm new to soft wave, but I am obsessed. I think it is like totally changed my face. I just did a second treatment. It takes between 3 and 6 months for it to take effect. Have you heard about soft wave?
No, what is soft wave?
It's amazing. I mean, I think everyone knows about it because I shout it so much. It's not laser, but it's actually an ultrasound. And you do
Okay.
it in a dermatologist, they numb you for an hour. They numb me for an hour and a half because I'm a wuss. And some spots in the face hurts us, more than others, but it hurts for a second. And I have this amazing a doctor in Florida, and I have a doctor in the Hamptons that have done these soft waves to me. And it tightens your skin and it gives you a little bit of a lift. And I don't shoot anything in my skin. I don't do Botox. I don't do filler. I don't do anything. I'm interested in shooting hyaluronic acid, but I don't want to shoot anything in my face.
What is the soft wave? Is it like electrical? Is it laser?
No, it's not laser. It's actually ultrasound.
Okay.
It's actually the same ultrasound that they, when they look at babies. That's what the doctor told me. Dr. Chopra is my new derm that I just started seeing in the Hamptons.
So I think that's a great tip. Do you believe in like red light therapy, any of those things for the skin? That's been really hot lately.
Yeah, I don't notice a difference when I do it, where I notice a difference in soft wave. I do have an infrared sauna in my house, so there is the red light in there, and I think that's good for you. I think it's good for me particularly because you go in this little box and there's nothing you could do except sit there. So
Do you use like a retinoid? Do you do vitamin C serum? All the stuff that like dermatologists typically recommend for people?
I don't. We make one. We have a really great, Jones Road has a great vitamin C serum, but it's either like, I don't know if I should call myself low maintenance or lazy.
So not even a retinoid at night you don't use.
No, I should, but I don't.
It's clearly it's working, whatever you're doing. And like you said, it may have something to do with, your new lifestyle. So what is like a typical, I know every day is so different, but are there things that always stay the same? Like, do you have a morning routine or evening routine that you
I
love?
do. I have
Yeah.
both of those, and those always stay the same. So
Okay.
I usually wake up without an alarm, except you can call my husband or my dog an alarm. So,
Yeah.
if I ever sleep through my husband and my dog, I'm the worst I ever, 7:30 is late for me. But my husband wakes up around 6, sometimes 6:15 if I'm lucky. And so I get up, I go downstairs, and I know I have to have at least 16 ounces of water. I've been told I need 32. I can't drink 32 ounces on an empty stomach. But I hydrate myself. I put either athletic greens in it or an electrolyte. I drink it up while I'm making my coffee. I make my coffee. I put like about a capful of half and half in, even though for years I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have dairy, but I like half and half of my coffee. And then I do what I've been told by business coach not to do. I get back in bed with my iPad. I read the paper while I'm drinking my coffee. And then when my body says, time to go to the bathroom, then I'm done. Go to the bathroom and then I exercise. Like that's my morning routine, no matter what. My
Is the
night,
exercise, is that the weight training that you were talking about?
yeah, it's either the weight training or if it's, a day that there's no weight training, I walk.
Mhm.
And when I walk, I usually use that time to call people on the phone,
Mm.
friends I haven't talked to for a while, or certain employees that I'm close with that I know they're, up at 8 in the morning or whatever. And because I'm not someone that sits and talks on the phone at home. Like I have to be
Mhm.
moving, I have to be in a
Yeah.
car. I
Yeah.
listen to podcasts in the car, so I don't do that when I walk. And at night, usually after the kitchen has to be completely clean. I can't wake up in the morning and not have a clean kitchen. So after, the kitchen's cleaned, my husband is, on the couch watching something. If I'm interested, like Emily in Paris, we're watching now, I sit down and I watch it with him. And then I say, I'm going up. And he says, I'll be up in a little bit. And he comes up about an hour later. He usually wakes me up, but it's a kind of our routine. And I sit on the couch with my iPad at night, just kind of, most people it riles up, me, it calms down. I do my last check on Instagram and I opened a Substack. I might check a Substack. I don't do emails because, if someone really wants me, they're going to text me. So
Mhm.
I don't have to look at my emails. And then I go upstairs, and honestly, this takes the most amount of time. I, first floss my teeth, brush my teeth, I'm wearing an Invisalign, put that back on. Then I take these vitamins to help me, calm down and go to sleep. I've been taking Tally. Do you know Tally? You must know Tally. The
I know.
company that tells you your age. They have these great things that help me go to sleep, or I take Mind Body Green. I'm obsessed with those
Mhm.
sleep ones too.
Yeah.
I take those, I put my moisturizer on, I hop in bed in my very like sexy long sleeve, how not to look like shit shirt, not really sexy at all. And I get in bed and I open up my iPad, which you're not supposed to do. And in 15 minutes, I'm exhausted and I go to sleep.
I know I always was so envious of people who fall asleep so easily. And I remember you'd always say, like, I have no trouble sleeping. I can fall asleep super easy and wake up rested. And I thought to myself, especially at that time, and I've worked myself through this for the last few years, but if I had 2 or 3 nights of sleep where I wasn't getting up, and having trouble falling back asleep, it would be great. And I think that's part of the stress issue as well. But I think I've really tried to work on that. But you're so lucky because you can do that. So during the day, between these two endpoints, end caps, do you take
Mhm.
any creative breaks, or are you doing a walk at lunch, or are you doing anything else like that, or just mostly at the office?
Yeah, not really. I mean, it's funny. We're here in the Hamptons, which is kind of our summer place.
Yeah.
I don't have my housekeeper. I don't have anything. So in between my Zooms, I stop by the laundry room, fold my clothes. I fold my husband's clothes. I have to do all that house stuff. And, what are we having for dinner? And, my calendar is trying to put everyone's dinner on where we've become very social since it's just the two of us, putting things in the calendar. So, it's super busy. Like today, I know I want to walk to town. I'm having people for dinner. I want to buy new napkins because I don't iron the napkins, and I serve these nice cloth napkins, but they're very funky because they're wrinkled.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I want to go buy some new napkins. I haven't bought napkins in a while.
So does that mean that you kind of are working on Zoom and with your team virtually when you're in the Hamptons, you don't really go into an office?
No, I'm working virtually. It's really hard working from home,
Yeah.
as you know, and anyone, because there's distractions. There's the dogs that are barking. There's
Yes.
the FedEx guy that comes. We're kind of in a new house. There's furniture deliveries. There's my son who needs something. My husband needs something. And Stephen is not home right now. He often would just come in and he'd say, I'd look at him like I'm doing something. He'd say, when are you going to be done? And I'd be like, I'm on a live, I'm on a thing, and he's like, all right, and he'll just have a conversation with me. It's just the way it
I
is.
love it. Is it like you guys both end the day around the same time, or does it just like, is it everybody's kind of done around 5 or 6 or no?
Yeah, we're during most of the time we're done closer to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
closer to
then, and what time do you start in the morning? Like after your whole morning routine, like
Yeah, I
9-ish?
mean, my like between 9 and 10, depending. I mean, off my favorite days are when I start at 10, because then I have that, like meandering time, like all day long. I kept telling myself I have to go on Instacart. My husband wants me to get him some melatonin, gummies
Yeah.
that he takes before bed. And I'm like, I haven't done it. Like I keep thinking I'm gonna do it. And so I have a forever to-do list.
Do you wear makeup on a regular basis?
No. No, I mean, I'm home. I don't put it on first thing, but I haven't showered yet. It's 1 o'clock where we are. So this morning I had my trainer from 9 to 10. And then I had I'm writing a book. So I have
Amazing.
my writer from 10:30 to 11:30, but we ended up doing it a little late. And so I got off at like 12 and I said, I better go down and eat something. So I went down and ate leftovers. That was a Buddha bowl that I got yesterday with tahini dressing. Talked to my
Yum.
son, his girlfriend, and then I went up and I'm on now. And when I'm done with you, I have no more work because it's Friday. Like
Yeah.
Friday afternoon in the summer, there's no work. And I try not to work on Fridays.
What about weekends?
Weekends, if my husband is playing golf, which I love the game, I don't play, then I know he's got somewhere to go and I will have 5 hours to myself. So I always exercise, and it's more leisure exercise. So it's really a longer walk, and I might, meet a friend for coffee, probably do some errands, probably do some grocery shopping or whatever. And, just things, I don't know. So weekends are relaxing. We're busy every single night though.
Yeah, because you're meeting socially with people.
Yes.
And I think that's where you probably, I feel like I used to feel like, I think when my kids were young and my job was very, very stressful, I used to feel very stressed out by social events because I would think, oh my God, another late night, another, thing to do. And now I realize that it doesn't have to be like that. Often I feel inspired. I feel like I learned something new about something. And it's actually been a part of my life that, which it sounds like for you, that is actually making me better and growing me in ways that I never thought it could.
Well, look, I've been out so much, and I'm not going to lie. We went to this really fabulous party yesterday in someone's backyard. All these cool Hamptons people were there, but it was a beautiful pizza truck, a Mr. Softy ice cream truck, a Shake Shack truck, and there was no eating healthy. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
like, there was not a salad. They had a arugula for the pizza. I'm like, can I have arugula? And they're like, well, we only have enough for the pizza. I'm like, okay. So I ate it, and I said, okay, I'm not going to eat dessert. And then my husband was eating a Mr. Softy. He never eats ice cream. So I said, all right, I said, give me the kitty cone. Oh my God, it was so delicious. I woke up this morning. I said, it is the last thing I want to do, exercise, but I made myself do it. And my body feels awful.
Yeah.
But I'm like, all right, I did it. I'm not going to make myself mentally feel bad about it. I am trying to drink a lot of water, and I'm just going to, reset myself.
Are you happy with your body? And I ask this because, we're, as women, and you've been very honest about this, like body image has been something we've all struggled with our whole entire lives. And sounds like you're on a different path with exercise and eating. How do you feel about your body?
Well, look, I've never been someone that has, body positivity. I am 5 foot tall. I have stopped wearing even platforms to most events because I just find it more comfortable to wear loafers or sneakers. So, and you know what? So I might look an inch taller or 2 inches taller. I'm like, who cares? And other women come in their, fancy shoes. That's their choice. And I feel, I've found clothes that fit my body. Like I used to be really frustrated that nothing looked good on me. I'm 5 foot tall and I'm not a naturally stick thin person. I mean, I'm lean for myself and muscular. So, but I've literally figured out how to dress for my body.
If someone is starting as a new entrepreneur, what are some tips that you would give to them? Because when you were talking about, the body, like clothes, and have you changed and you've gotten kind of accepted your body, your style, the way you look. I think, as an entrepreneur in the beginning, there's all these things like you hate, you want to get better at this and you want to get better at that. And I'm sure you've learned some tips over time. And so what are some tips that you would give to someone who is new, maybe new on the journey? What are things that you wish you knew back then?
Well, I always say first thing, slow down. Like, what's the rush? People, every time I talk to an entrepreneur, they're always like this, and Series A and this, and how am I going to do this? How am I going to? And I'm just, oh my God, like you're stressing me out. You must stress yourself out all the time. Calm down. All right. You're gonna figure this out. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And there's no rush. And stop like so many entrepreneurs make decisions. If I only had this, if I only have this, if I could only. No, stop. What do you have? Like I once someone asked me to speak to someone, and it was this young girl who had a dog biscuit company, and she was so frustrated. Her mother was helping her, but she couldn't do this, couldn't do that. And she was like, I think I'm just gonna, go raise money to hire a team. And I'm like, okay, first of all, stop. Tell me about the dog biscuits. And she said, whatever they were. And I said, do people love them? She goes, I don't know. I give them to everyone. I said, well, why don't you do a focus group? She goes, what are you talking about? I said, go to the park. Just go to the park. Give them to people. Let them give them to their dogs. If the dogs love them, you have a good product. And by the way, maybe some of those people will post for you and all their friends will see it. That's how you get started. You don't like, oh, I have to hire a full social team. I have to, no, calm down. First, just like, I always tell people that your new business is like a baby. You got to figure out the quirkiness of the baby
Yeah.
before you know how to handle stuff. So just slow down.
I love that. I love that tip. And I think also, focusing on making sure your product is a good product, because I think a lot of people just get really riled up and growing really fast. And oh, it's a marketing problem. Oh, it's I need more followers or I need more customers. But like, do you really believe that your product is amazing, that you are creating something that's really different? And if not, go back to the drawing board and make it like that, right? Like that's so true. Any
Yeah.
other tips? I'm sure you have.
I mean, I have tons of tips, but certainly don't spend more than you have.
Oh, I love that.
People make that mistake too, and realize what you could do for, like what could you do? Like there's ways to do things. If you can't hire a graphic designer or someone, well, guess what? You can go to the local school and, local art school and, maybe hire a student. You can, so also for your social, you could do that. You could, there's so many ways that you can go to like little companies where they have, I forget what they're called, but you could like hire a graphic designer who's in China or
Yeah,
India.
like Upwork. Yeah.
Yeah,
Upwork or
and
something. Yeah.
there's ways to do things without spending a ton of money. Like go slow.
What do you think about hiring a team? For example, do you believe in hiring people who are moldable and young and motivated and fresh? Or do you believe that you have to get people that already have experience in the past and are already like kind of more advanced in their field?
It kind of depends, and I think you need both.
Mhm.
And my biggest advice is, you know, hire slow, but fire fast.
Mm, love
Like,
that.
if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And if it's not working for you, I guarantee it's not working for them either. But I think you need like the youth around you because they know things you don't know how to do. They're fast, they're eager, they're excited. And you need some people who have some experience, so you're not always having to teach them things.
Yeah, that's what I was getting confused about. That's like a personal question, because I think
Yeah.
in the beginning I thought, oh my God, it's so great to mentor these girls, like, or they happen to be girls, but like,
Right.
so great to be a mentor and I'm going to help them. And then at some point I'm like, okay, but now I need people who have done this before, already have experience in like video and podcasts, like we need people who are experienced. So I was curious about your thoughts on that. So getting a mix is what you're kind of recommending.
Yeah, and look, I hired a girl, she was in, from the local college, Montclair State. I hired her as an intern, the beginning of her senior year, and by the second semester I hired her full time.
Yeah.
She didn't even graduate college. And now
Yeah.
she's doing, my Substack with me, my social. So right now I'm really lucky. I have two assistants. I have one that is, kind of doing my schedule, my calendar, my medical things, like all that stuff. And then I've got this kid that does all the digital things, picks up, things that I need, does my errands, like, and I feel really like good right now.
Okay, I want to be respectful of your time because this is Friday. I want you to tell us more about Jones Road and what are you excited about? Like, what's next for Bobbi Brown?
Well, I'm excited about a lot of things.
Okay,
We have a bunch of new products coming out. We have opened 6 stores already. So I don't know if you know,
amazing.
we're not in department stores. We're only in one in London, Liberty. We're 95% of our business comes from direct to consumer. So if anyone wants to know more, they could just go on the Jones Road website.
What is the website, just so they have it?
JonesRoadBeauty.com.
Okay.
And I would tell you, if you don't know where to start, take the quiz, know what pencils would work on your skin, our face pencils, and it will then tell you what miracle balm to use, what foundation to use. I have literally worked, with the team, making sure it's as user friendly as possible, because a lot of, things out there like that don't work, but I feel really confident that they do. And you could always go to the Jones Road Instagram. You can go to the justbobbi.com Instagram to kind of see a little bit of my crazy world and life. I'm a little over poster.
I
So,
love
and,
your post. It's so authentic.
and yeah, I don't have anyone that helps me with my Instagram. I do my own personal one myself. I don't do the Jones Road one. But I do the George, I do the hotel, and I do my own.
Wow. I do my own too. And I feel like that's the only way you can get your own. That's the only way it works. Like if you actually have someone on your personal that's posting for you, I just feel like it's so obvious
Right.
because it's not
But how
you.
did you get to 1 million? I mean, I've been doing this for so long
Uh,
and I'm stuck at 800 and something.
well, I think, I would say I wish I knew the formula because then I would be at like 5 million already. But sometimes you can predict what I think this is what has been working for me. And I think this is so you that it's gonna resonate. Every time I post, I think, what can I give to the audience that's like a gift? Either it's a gift of education, it's a tip that I think is like an amazing tip, or
Right.
something where it's coming from a place of let me share with you my secret, my gift to you. And I think that people love that because
Right.
everybody else on social is posting like, buy my thing, do my course, blah, blah, blah. Like, follow me, look at me. Do you think I look cute? Like it's all about them. And I think that people really want to know, like, hey, who is here for me? Who's going to coach me? It's like being a doctor, but I get to do it for like a million people. So that's what I think has worked. But doesn't always work, right? Things that I think is an amazing tip. People are like, oh yeah, I know that was like so yesterday. So it's always like a work in progress. But I think you're so amazing at that. So I think for you, it's like your TikToks are so useful. Like, hey, if you have, this skin issue, or I think I saw a few where you're giving like real life tips and they went viral, right? Because it's like coming from a place of like, this is not for me, this is for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And what time do you wake up in the morning?
So it depends. Like I said, I'm like a sleep. I love sleep. So if I've gotten a good night's sleep, it's between 6 and 7. I usually go outside and get some sunlight. And Bobbi, what you said about slowing down, that is the best advice, because I think when I have a slow morning, that's when my day is more creative. I have more breakthroughs. It's like you're not like on that adrenaline to-do list
Yeah.
cycle. And just like you said, like I was that pressured speech person because in medicine, they teach you like, if you're not texting, seeing a patient and doing your note at the same time, like you are not productive, so like I took that energy and I was trying to do that with this and it just wasn't working. And so really getting that slow morning in with sunlight and walking, and now I do journaling. I'm like all woo-woo about that kind of stuff, but that really sets me up for the best day. And then not over scheduling myself. Like you said, like I used to think, oh, if I'm doing a podcast today, I should do a meeting later, then I should do this. And now I'm like, no, I'm just going to do the podcast. And maybe I'm going to do something fun and like light on my brain, but I'm not going to try to pack everything in. Just like you said, slow down to speed up. That's like the best thing that has been working for me. Have you ever heard of Kabbalah?
Kabbalah?
It's like a philosophy. And in one of the
Jewish,
things,
some
it's like,
Jewish something and a Madonna to do it. That's
yeah.
what
Yeah, and one of the things they recommend, one of the teachers, David Guillaume, recommends, and I've been doing this, is 20-minute breaks 3 times a day as just creative breaks. So you can exercise, you can reflect, you can pray, you can meditate, you can do nothing. That's been a game changer. Okay, what's next for you, and how do people find you?
What's next for me and how do people find me? Well,
Oh,
they
your
can,
book?
well, my book's not for another year. So
Okay.
my book's not for another year, but really the best way to see what I'm up to is Instagram, and we've just started doing more things on YouTube, more videos. And honestly, what I'm most excited about is the Substack, because the Substack is only me. Like I don't have teams doing anything. So, and it's very random and it's life tips and do you have a Substack yet?
No, I was going to ask you how's your experience been on Substack?
It's been great. And I've made some decent money, and all the money I make goes to a charity in Montclair called Reaching Out Montclair. So, I didn't want people to think that I just need more money and I'm putting it in my pocket. Great.
Amazing.
Yeah. So check me out on Substack. It's under Bobbi Brown.
So it's like a blog site?
Yeah, it's like seriously, it's a combination of a blog, but it's almost like you can have, it's like I feel like I have my own magazine. Like I have a digital
Yeah.
magazine. I could teach, I could interview, there's a way to connect with people. It's a pretty new thing. I guess it's only like a year and a half old. And
And
I've been
people subscribe.
people subscribe. It's free to subscribe.
Okay.
You can also be a paid, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like what, I have a couple hundred paid people. Like what is special for the paid people? Like,
Right.
little chats or little things that I don't share with everyone else. So it's kind of like a BTS of everything.
I
It's
love
it.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being so generous with your time and your advice. I think what people love about you is that you're real, you tell it like it is. You don't try to be like, oh, this is great, that's great. You're like, this sucks, this is good. That's so useful, because I used to say that the best thing about people from New York, and that's what, not all people from New York, but someone like you, is like, you really know what your opinions are and you kind of give advice as you see. You're not trying to sugarcoat things like a lot of people. So thank you so much for your awesome advice.
My pleasure.
Have
All
an
right.
amazing weekend and enjoy the Hamptons.
All right. Thanks.